Good morning. In today's class, what we are going to learn is about the well-known Kirchhoff's laws, current law and voltage law, what is known as KVL and KCL, standing for Kirchhoff's voltage law and Kirchhoff's current law. In addition, we will also learn about the usefulness of Thevenin's theorem in solving a typical problem. That way we will try to understand what this theorem is about. These are the two topics that we'll learn. So let us first, before we go to the Kirchhoff's voltage law, what we are going to talk about is this is part of our course 19 EC 112 electronic devices and circuit. And before we go into the KVL, we will learn some fundamentals. Okay, that is the idea. So what does this law, where they are used? It is used in all types of analysis of all types of electronic circuits. Okay, and the basic principle, it operates on the basic principle of conservation of energy. Okay, so that is the idea. Now, having said that, let us first look at some definitions. Okay, so what we call properties of electronic circuits, and typically circuits are made up of junctions, and there are two types of junctions. One is voltage junction, the other is the current junction. Okay, so two types of junctions exist. One is voltage junction, the other is the current junction. The voltage junction is called the loop and the current junction is called a node. Okay, so we'll just see why it is called as a loop, why it is called as a node. Okay, so in a voltage junction, all voltages meet. Okay, so within the loop, all voltages meet. For example, let us talk about this circuit. Let us say I have a voltage source. Connected to a resistor, an inductor, typical LCR circuit, a capacitor. So capacitor, inductor, resistor. Okay, so from the voltage source, the current flows through the resistor, inductor, and a capacitor. So there is a voltage drop across each of these passive components, the resistor, inductor, and the capacitor, and so first note that there is a voltage drop, and then all these voltages meet within this loop. Okay, so but an important characteristic you can see clearly is that they share the same current. That is the main thing. They share the same current, and all voltages meet within this loop. So the loop can be seen here. This is a loop. So often we say, let us analyze the loop. So what they mean is loop is within a part of a circuit. If it is a closed path, you call it a loop. Okay, so that is about the example of a voltage junction. Now what about current junction? At the node, all currents in the branches, currents in all branches meet. Let us see how. So I have a current source. So example of a current source. Okay, an example of a current source is like this. This is one way of representing a current source, and let the current flow in this direction. Let us say this is my node, let us say, and then this is my a resistor. I have only drawn part of the circuit. The circuit completes, so don't think the circuit is not complete. We are just showing the essential part because our attention is at this node. This is my inductor, this is my resistor, and the current is flowing in this fashion. Let us say this is my current I. It branches out into I1, I2. If I have a capacitor also, then I can draw the capacitor in this fashion and get like this. Okay, so these are the stuff. So I have a capacitor, I have an inductor, resistor at this node right over here. All the currents meet. So I is trifurcating in 3 ohms, I1, I2, I3 respectively along the resistor, through the resistor, through the inductor, through the capacitor. So this is a current source. Okay, so all the currents, an important characteristics of a, you can see clearly that the current is varying. Okay, but at this point the potential or the voltage with respect to some reference point is shared by all the branches within this at this node. Okay, so therefore that is the important characteristic, okay, of the node. All branches at the node share the same voltage or potential. Now what about both of them? Both of them are energy conserving junctions. In the sense, you can see that whatever the voltage that is produced by here, the source voltage, it delivers a power through the resistor, and power is nothing but the energy per unit time. So it delivers power through the resistor, inductor, and they are passive elements. They are capable of receiving power, capacitor. Okay, so for example, so all these three things receive power. It is from coming here. So all of them are dissipated through this. Okay, so therefore we say that the energy is conserved. Here again, the current is whatever current that is coming into the at the node is getting I equal to I1 plus I2 plus I3. That is exactly what is going to be the case here. I will come to that. Okay. So let us first go to the KVL, Kirchhoff's voltage law. For this, what I will do is, again I will reproduce that circuit. This is my voltage source. This is my resistor. This is my inductor. This is my capacitor. So I have drawn a simple circuit here to give an idea about what this law is about, both the mathematical form and the physical understanding. So this is my voltage, and let us say there is a voltage drop. Let us say this power is the voltage that is coming from this voltage source is, say, let us say V1, and let us say here at the resistor there is a voltage drop V2, okay, potential drop, and at the inductor it is V3, at the capacitor it is V4. Okay, and as I told you, the important characteristic is they share the same current. So having said that, we can see that, and as I told you, they operate on the principle of, all circuits operate on the principle of energy conservation. Okay, for the energy to be conserved, all power that is generated from the source must be given to the passive components within this loop. So this is a loop, as I told you earlier. This is an entire loop where all voltages meet. So therefore, if I have to understand this mathematically, what I can say is I can write it in this fashion. So V1 I must be given to, I will put the minus sign to exemplify that it is receiving, okay, and whereas this is delivering. The source is delivering the power and this is receiving. V2I minus V3I minus V4I equal to 0 because they share the same current. And we know that VI is nothing but the power by Ohm's law. Okay, so we can simply write this in an alternate simple form by using summation notation. So let us say if I have a number of components, okay, a number of components and in the circuit including the source, I can write this below. All the i's get cancelled because that is a common. So I can say Vk equal to 0. So this is a summation notation, sigma. Summation notation. Okay, so that is about the Kirchhoff's voltage law. So mathematically I have written, the statement says the algebraic sum of all voltages within this loop must be 0. This is simply known as Kirchhoff's voltage law, simply KVL. And KVL and KCL are extremely essential to analyze any electronic circuit, as we will see throughout this course. Okay, now what about KCL, Kirchhoff's current law? So Kirchhoff's current law, if you go here, again here, let me take the same node. I'll draw the diagram over here. So this is my current source. Okay, and this is say I1. This is our own notation. This is my resistor, which, so depending on the component, the current is going to be different, but at the node, the potential remains the same. So the nodes share the same potential. That is an important characteristic. So this is my inductor. And this is my capacitor. I4. Okay, so let me make sure that you understand this carefully. So the current that is flowing through the capacitor is I4. So let me write it properly. I4 through this element. Okay, so having said this, here, as I told you, there should not be any accumulation of charges. So it is like continuity. Okay, so here it is like continuity of the charges that is flowing. So whatever charges that is coming into the junction, current junction, that flows through the three elements. There is no accumulation of any charge over here. So this is how the energy is conserved. What we say, conservation of energy, because we learn in electromagnetics course that the energy is basically related with the charge and that field that is produced by the charges. Okay, so we'll not digress too much, but right now you understand, for energy to be conserved, that there shouldn't be no accumulation of charges at this point. So there must be continuity. So this is exemplified. Let us say this is the potential E1 drop here. That is the potential associated with this current source, and this is drop at the resistor E2, E3, E4. So these are the EMFs. So then I can write this fellow for energy conservation. I can write it as E1 I1. Okay, but you have to understand here, the potential is the same here. Therefore, okay, so we are at the with respect to the thing, they share the same potential. Therefore, even though depending on the part here, they might have, okay, but we have to understand this as far as this point with respect to a reference point, okay, we will consider, let us assume that the circuit somehow gets terminated here, and then they share the same potential, which means I don't have to worry even about the other things. I can simply write it as because they share the same potential with respect to the same reference point. So I can simply write it as corresponding to the node, because at the node I am saying the energy is conserved. So corresponding to the node, I will have to write it as EI1 plus EI2. Okay, so because the current is flowing out in a different, now it is into the junction, these are all flowing out. So therefore, I will put the negative sign just like I did the other side. Okay, so because the current is flowing out, so you should not get confused here. So don't get break your heads with this. So EI3 minus EI4 equal to 0, because this is the incoming current. These are all outflowing current from the node. Okay, incoming is I1, whereas I2, I3, I4 are flowing out of this node current junction. Therefore, I have put a negative sign. That's all. So, but the algebraic sum, please note the word algebraic. Algebraic sum of all currents at the node or the current junction must be 0. That is how the energy is conserved. Therefore, again I put the summation notation like this. For n components running from 1 to n, I will have Ik equal to 0, because the potential is shared. So even though I wrote this is the source that is producing, so just to ensure that you don't get lost there, so I will remove this E1, E2, E3, E4, just to ensure that you don't lose track of that. Okay, the potential at this point only you must pay attention. So let me write that very clearly. So I'll write it here. The potential there is a difference between voltage and potential. When we say potential, we always see when you want to measure potential at some point, your reference, you understand that it is measured with respect to some reference point. The reference point could be ground, which is 0, or it could be any other point where there is some other potential associated. So you have to understand the reference point is a key when you measure. You just cannot measure with one pin. Okay, let us say I take a voltmeter. I will always have a 2 terminal. One of them I have to put it at the reference and the other is at the potential where I want to measure the point. So you have to understand that. So the potential at the point at the node here at the node is small e, and current junction shares the same potential. Current junction shares the same potential. This is an important fact. Now, I think so. The statement goes like this: the algebraic sum of all currents at the node or current junction must be 0. This law is known as Kirchhoff's current law or simply KCL. Both these laws will be used when we want to analyze the entire circuit. If I want to know at every branch what kind of what is the voltage drop occurring and what is the current that is flowing through each component, then I will, once I analyze the entire circuit, I will apply KVL, KCL and get all the results, all the answers that I have in to the questions that I have in my mind. Now, suppose in a problem, let us say I want to find only at a particular component, say a load associated with a circuit. Load is nothing but the component to which the power needs to be delivered. The load receives the power. Okay, so that is the only component through which I want to know what is the voltage drop, what is the current, also current flowing through that load. Then it is not necessary to analyze the entire circuit. There are methods to analyze that branch in a more facile manner as put forward by either what is known as Thevenin's voltage theorem or Norton's current theorem. Okay, so we will in today's class see what is this Thevenin's voltage theorem. Okay, so or simply Thevenin's theorem. So let us take this problem and then try to analyze. Find the current in the 8 ohm resistor using Thevenin's theorem. So the circuit given for the given circuit. Okay, the circuit is like this with the components noted. It is a simple circuit with DC voltage sources and resistors. That's all. And the resistance are marked. Now the 8 ohm resistor is over here. The 8 ohm resistor is over here. So I want to know what is the current that is flowing only on this element. Therefore, now what I will do, how to solve this using this Thevenin's theorem. So it is called, basically you try to analyze in a manner that will help to find immediately without going through the entire circuit analysis. That is the beauty of this theorem, as we will see shortly. So let us take step by step. So what I am going to do is, I am going to take this circuit over here and paste it to make use of the digital resources. So this is my point. This is where we are. So the first step, I want to find the current through the, so what I have done so far is just pasting this so that it makes things easier for me. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this 8 ohm resistors over here. Okay. So I'm going to, for now temporarily, I will actually forget that the load is my 8 ohm. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to temporarily forget about it and remove that from this part. That's all I have done so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark these two terminals. Listen carefully. So let me do one more thing. I may need this circuit. Okay, we can always draw it, no issues. So let me go through this. So I have removed that 8 ohm resistor and mark these terminals as A and B. So step 1 is remove the load. Load is the component through which we need to find the current flow. Okay, how much current is flowing through the load. Remove the load resistor. And mark the terminals as A and B. That's what is shown here. So I have marked, removed the load resistor and marked the thing. So the next step to this is going to be, okay. So let me, once I do that, the idea is, let me put the idea before we proceed further on this stuff. So what I'm going to do is, the principle behind this, please listen carefully. Let us say I want to find the current through the 8 ohm resistor. I know what is RL. All I need to know is I need to find what is the voltage drop. Okay, so essentially, let us look at the principle of this principle. So, problem is determination of I. Determination of I, that is the current through 8 ohm resistor. I know R. If I can use the Ohm's law says voltage equal to current into resistance. So which means if I know what is the voltage, okay, if I know what is the voltage across the terminals A and B by analyzing the entire circuit, then I can easily find the current. That is the idea. So Thevenin told, remove the load resistor, analyze the rest of the circuit, find the voltage across A and B, then you can actually easily determine the current flowing through AB. Okay, that is the idea. So how do you do it? See, you think here in this circuit, we have simple sources, DC sources. So if I analyze the entire source, and let us assume that I take a voltmeter and measure across the terminals A and B what is the potential difference, I will know the voltage drop or the potential across AB. So that is the more precise way of telling things. So I will know the potential across AB, potential difference, by using a voltmeter. Instead of voltmeter, what we are going to do is we are going to perform analysis of this entire rest of the circuit except that of the load, and then I will get that potential difference across AB is nothing but the Thevenin's voltage. So I will mark that voltage. For now I am taking, so I will mark that, and I call that voltage as VTH. So, and there is a, if you look at the circuit again, there are a lot of resistors. The combination of series and parallel will give an equivalent resistance associated with the circuit. We are assuming ideal DC voltage sources. Therefore, the internal resistance of these DC sources are 0. So all we need to do is, there is a method to find the equivalent resistance of the circuit. I will tell you shortly. Let us assume that I have found for the rest of the components equivalent resistance, what is known as Thevenin's equivalent resistance. Because it is a voltage source, I have to connect that rest of the things as in series, what is known as RTH. And then now I have the terminal AB, and I know what is the resistor across AB, that is my 8 ohm. Therefore, the current is simply given by VTH by RTH plus 8 ohm in this case. So what is RTH? So VTH is, so because I have opened the terminal by removing the load resistor, it is VTH is Thevenin's voltage simply because I have removed that component. It is the open circuit voltage. Open circuit voltage across AB because I have removed the load. Now RTH is the Thevenin's equivalent resistance. This is it. So that's all I need to find. What is the current? So if I find the RTH and VTH, I will be able to find the current that flows through 8 ohm resistor. This is the idea. So having said the idea, I hope the idea is very clear. Now let me actually get that. So let us redraw that diagram to make sure that. So my aim is to find that. So let us try to find what is the. So let me redraw that circuit. So let us go to step 2. Step 2. Our aim is to determine VTH. See here. So I'm going to redraw the circuit except after removing the load resistor here. There is a source here, which is 8 volt. This is 20 volt. This is 2 ohm. This is 4 ohm. This is 4 ohm. Then there is something like this. Another resistor that comes here. And then this is my open terminal A. And then there is a source here. So there is a source here. The source goes in this fashion now. This is 4 volt. And then this is my opened other terminal B. So I need to find the Thevenin's voltage across AB. So this is 2 ohm and this is 4. 2 ohm and 4. Okay. Now to determine VTH, what I do is actually I have to get VTH. How do I get VTH? That is the idea. Okay. So first thing I need to do distribution of currents for this first step, because I want to find across this. So let us assume that there is an imaginary construct like this, and I have taken the sign positive here, negative here. After the analysis, we will know whatever signs I have taken is correct or wrong. Okay, so that depends on the direction of the current flow. Okay, so I have taken the sign like this. Fine. So this is my VTH. So this is an imaginary construct. There is no source. VTH is an imaginary construct. Remember that. Nothing beyond that. So first I need to do distribution of currents. Undo and determine the currents. Once I determine the currents, then I can apply through this loop. So I have here, this is loop 1. This is loop 2. There is also If I take the entire from here, I go up to here and come back here, go here, that is loop 3. And then for this to find VTH, I can apply on this loop 4. And there can be other loops also. But we need to find, our aim is to find distribution of currents. So let us first focus on that before we go to VTH, attempt to find VTH. So how do I distribute current from the source? So let us say I start from the left. So at this point, and let us say I mark this as P, okay, and Q, R, S, T, U. I have marked the terminals like this, the each node, okay. So the node is marked like this, P, Q, R, S, T, okay. And then let us say I start from P and I say this is I1, this will be I1 minus, if let us say this is I2, I take this as I2, then it depends. You can take anything you want as long as you are consistent. So I'm going to take that as I2. So in which case the current that is flowing here obviously will be I1 minus I2 by Kirchhoff's current law. So I1 minus I2 that flows through here. Now think about this. This is an imaginary construct. Therefore, this is an open determinant. AB is open determinant. So obviously, I can I will. So yeah, having explained what is VTH, I am going to remove that to make you understand. So this is open terminal. So if it is a open terminal, okay, AB is opened. So there won't be any current that will be flowing through the arm RA. The current all I1, I2 over here, I1 minus I2 will flow through these 2 ohms. It won't flow here because it is a open terminal. And again, similarly here it is open terminal. So again it will come like this. And I1 minus I2, here I2 is coming into this node T, and at the T node from S, I1 minus I2 is coming. So the total current that will be flowing outward here, it will be I1 minus I2 plus I2, that will become I1. So that is what we started with. So our way of representing the current is correct. So this will be I1 minus I2 because it's a open, so there won't be any current through this. And here again this is open, therefore there won't be any current that will be bifurcating from here from the node S. So all of them will be going through the here. So I1 minus I2, again I1 minus I2 plus I2 will make sure it is I here, I1 here. Okay, so now we have distributed the currents. Okay, so remember arms RA, there won't be any current flowing through arm RA because A is not complete or loop is not closed. SB same problem, B is open, therefore there won't be any current. So we need to determine this current. How many unknowns are there? We have 2 unknowns. We have many loops. Okay, we have in this case we have 1 loop, 2 loop and then 3 loop. We have 3 loops, but we need to determine only 2 unknowns. What are they? I1 and I2. We need to determine. So applying, you will understand why do I have to find this current before we go to VTH shortly. So to applying KVL analysis, running KVL analysis through the loop, P, Q, T, U. The first loop marked, that is within bracket loop 1. This is it. So loop 1 we are running. So you can see that I start at the point P. So there is a voltage drop across the 2 ohm resistor over here. Okay, the 2 ohm resistors over here. And then there is a voltage drop here. Then the I2 flows through the 4 ohm in the arm QT. And then I1 is what it is here. It comes back. So I have a voltage drop across 2 ohm and 4 ohm. Therefore, because it is voltage drop, it will be minus sign 2 I1 minus 4 I2, and I am at the point U, I am seeing a negative of the terminal and I am going to positive. Therefore, I am going from negative to positive, which means voltage rise on the arm UP. So it becomes actually minus 20 equal to 0. Sorry, plus 20 equal to 0, because I am going voltage rise. So plus 20 equal to 0. So be careful with this sign. So effectively, I am getting the equation as 2I1, okay, plus 4I2 equal to 20. I take the other side, you can see here. So 20 is here. So the minus sign becomes plus. So simply you will get I1 plus 2I2 equal to 10. So this is my equation 1. Equation 1. Equation 1. Now similarly applying KVL. We need 2 equations to solve for I1 and I2. You can apply through the bigger loop also, but in this case, because smaller loop is better, so I will take the smaller loop. So I have like QR ST. So I'm going to apply through QR ST. Through QR, through the loop Q R S T, or simply loop 2, we get, what do we get? So there is a voltage drop across this 4 ohm resistor, 4 ohm over here. So it is I1 minus I2. Okay, I will write negative sign to begin with, 4 into I1 minus I2. Then there is again a voltage drop across the 2 ohm, which means, and that same current flows through 2 into minus I1 minus I2. Then you look at the source, 8 volt source. We are actually going from positive to negative, which means there is a voltage loss. So which means potential loss. Therefore, there is a minus sign, minus 8. And then we come back. Now look at that 4 ohm resistor here. The I2 is flowing in the arm QT. In the arm QT, the I2 is flowing downward, but we are going from T to Q, which means there is we are not seeing a voltage drop, rather it is the opposite of that, because the current is flowing in the opposite direction and we are going from T to Q. Okay, so therefore, as we go from T to Q, we see the current that is flowing towards T, therefore it is in opposite direction. Okay, so it is plus 4 into I1 minus I2, okay, equal to 0. So effectively, if you look at here, we will get minus 4 here, minus 2I. There is a, so let me combine the similar terms. Let us talk about the I1 term. We have a minus 6 I1 here, plus 4 I1. So it becomes actually effectively minus 2 I1. Minus 2 I1. Okay, and then this is plus 4 I2. This is again another plus 2 I2. There is a minus 4 I2. Okay, so am I missing something here? So there is a minus. Okay, effectively, yeah. So I will get actually what I will get. Let me see. I have to be careful while I write that. Okay, we have to be very careful. I missed something here. That's what I was wondering. How should I write? Is this I1 minus I2 on the sum? We have to see that. Okay. So let us look at the sum again. So from QR, it becomes 4 into I1 minus I2. Okay, that is a negative sign. Then in the arm RS, it becomes, because the diagram is on the other screen, that's why RS we take I1 minus I2. But in the arm T to Q, it is only I2. So I must consider only I2. That's where I missed. Okay. So it becomes actually 4 into I2. Is this 4 or 2? We have to see that again. 4. 4 I2. In the arm, what is the term? TQ. So it becomes minus 6 I1 because there is no I1 term here. Only on the first two terms it is there. Minus 6 I1. Then I have this 4 I2 plus 4 I2. This plus 2 I2. There is a, so it becomes actually plus 10 I2 equal to, that goes to the other side, plus 8. So it becomes minus 3 I1 plus 5 I to simplify equal to 4. So this is equation 2. I am going to give the answer to these solutions quickly here. This is my equation 2. So if we solve for these equations, you will get I1 equal to okay, I1 equal to, if I solve, how do I solve this? Let me quickly gather this. I have to multiply the top term by, I have the equation as I1 plus 2I2 equal to 10. Okay, that is my equation, the first equation. And if I solve it, I will get I1 equal to 42 by 11. You can check for yourself. All I need to do is, it's a cross multiplication. There are many methods to solve simultaneous equation. We are not learning that here in this class. 42 by 11 ohm, I2 equal to 34 by 11 ohm. Sorry, not ohm. Amperes. 42 by 11 ampere for this, and here it is 34 by 11 ampere. Okay, so these are the two stuff. So first equation. So how do I do this? Equation is very simple. All I need to do is you multiply by the term. Okay, so here minus 3I1 is there, plus 2I2 is there. So effectively you solve for this equation. You have to multiply by, let us assume that I multiply by 3 and then add these two equations. What I am going to get? 3 plus 3I1 plus 2I2, equation 1 I am talking about, plus 6I2 equal to 30, right? And then what I do? I need to add these two equations. I will get the I1 term will get cancelled because there is a negative. When I add equation 1 and equation 2, 3I1 minus 3I1 will be 0. I will have 6I2 plus 5I2, that will be 11I2. There will be on the right hand side 30 plus 4, 34. So 11I2 equal to 34. Therefore I2 will be 34 by 11. And once I know I2, I substitute in one of these equations, I will get what is I1. It's very simple. So having said that, now let us go for VTH. Our aim is to find VTH. Our aim is to find VTH. How do I do that? So I have found what are the currents. Now let us look at, as I told you, VTH is the imaginary, you can consider it as an imaginary voltage source, Thevenin's voltage. Therefore, look at the arm or loop RABS. Okay, and let us redraw only the loop RABS. So if I draw that loop, I will get like this. Redrawing the loop that consists of the Thevenin's voltage. We want to find Thevenin's voltage. We know the current now. So how do we do that? Redrawing the loop R A B RABS. I think so. RABS. Okay. So this is the loop I am talking about. This is the loop RABS. Okay. So this is the loop RABS. So when I redraw it, I am going to have, there is a 2 ohm resistor, there is a 4 ohm resistor, then there is a voltage source over here, that is the 4 volt, and this, let me mark the point, R A B S. Now as I told you, there is an imaginary, so I will use the dotted instead of using a solid line, dotted, and then I have drawn like this. So this is my RTH, sorry, VTH. Make a lot of VTH. This is my VTH. This is my 4 ohm. This is my 2 ohm. And I2, I know what is I2 over here. And this is my, I consider now this as a loop 3 with the imaginary construct of the Thevenin's voltage source, which means Thevenin's voltage source. Thevenin's voltage. This is an imaginary source, so that the circuit looks like completed. Imaginary source. So when I do that analysis, I know that this arm is actually open. So there won't be any current that will be flowing through the 4 ohm or through this. Okay. So I'm going to apply KVL through loop 3. This loop 3. What we get is, okay, what we get is, so I starting from R, starting from the point R, starting clockwise from point R. We get, so applying KVL through loop 3, starting clockwise from point R, we know that this A and B, that terminal AB is open now. So there won't be any current that will be flowing through that. So we don't have to worry about this term here. But we have to take the voltage into consideration. There is a potential drop across BS. Okay, that term is closed. But there is no current. So 0 into 4 will be 0. And then there is a VTH. So it becomes actually VTH. Because this is a voltage rise, it becomes plus 4. Okay, VTH plus 4. Okay, but remember here again, I am having a going from positive to negative, which means there is a minus sign, plus 4, and then I go on the opposite direction of the current flow, and the current flow here is actually I2. Is that I2? Let me just make sure that no, it is I1 minus I2. sorry. So it is I1 minus I2. Please, I make a correction. Here it is I1 minus I2. You can see through this picture. It's marked as I1 minus I2, which means I am going to get VTH minus VTH plus 4. And I am going in the opposite direction. Therefore, it's a voltage gain. So it is actually potential gain, which means plus I got to put into 2 I1 minus I2 equal to algebraic sum of the voltage through the loop is 0. Okay. So over the loop is 0. So that becomes minus VTH. So I1 and I2 are known. This is I1 is actually 42 by, I have given 42 by 11 ampere. I2 is 34 by 11 ampere, which means I get actually VTH equal to I will take the VTH the other side, and there is plus 4 plus 2 here, 42 by 11 minus 34 by 11, that equals 4 plus 2 into 8 divided by 11, that becomes VTH is actually 60 by 11. The unit is obviously volts. So once I see this voltage, I can easily find the current that flows through the this one load resistor. So I know the VTH of that analysis. So as I told you, this is positive. So my way of adopting this positive here and negative here is actually correct. So all my currents have come out in the direction I assumed. They have come out positive. Therefore, my choice of direction of the current is correct. Had I assumed in the opposite direction, I would have encountered a negative, which means the current is actually flowing through the opposite direction. So negative means negative current, do not worry about it. Negative current means it is in the opposite of what you assumed in the loop analysis. So here my Thevenin's equivalent resistance RTH, and this is, we will see what is RTH, and this is my, because VTH is found, this is A2. So I can easily find. Okay, so how do I do that? By apply Ohm's law, I equal to VTH by, as I told you earlier, RL plus RTH. Now RTH is the equivalent resistance. So let us look into this circuit. The circuit, to find equivalent resistance, what you need to do is short the terminal. Okay, so we'll have to think about it, how to do this VTH across AB. So I want to find AB across AB. I put a ohm meter and find the equivalent resistance, not shorting. Sorry, I correct it. It is not shorting. I just put a ohm meter across AB, and across the passive components I will get, assuming the voltage sources are ideal, which means zero internal resistance, I will get. So how do I look at the circuit? The circuit can be looked at quickly like this. I'll redraw that circuit over here so that you can easily. So to determine RTH, what you need to do is remove short all voltage sources. This is the idea. If the current sources are there, you got to open it. Short all voltage sources, and this is only in case of ideal sources, which means zero internal resistance. So giving rise to, we'll finish it in 5 minutes. Giving rise to we get like this. So I have shorted the first thing. I will have the resistor here. So the same circuit, I will show you that. Once I put the nomenclature, you will get that. And then there is a resistor here. There is a resistor. I have shorted this voltage source. There is a resistor here. It's a simple combination of series and parallel. There is a resistor here. And this is my open terminal A. And I have shorted this voltage source. So which means there is zero resistance here, zero resistance here. So this is my P, Q, R, S, T, U. This is what we adopted. So you can see, look at the arm, UP, TS and SO. They are shorted, which means zero resistance, because ideal sources we have considered. What are this thing? Here it is 4 or 2, 4, 4, here again 2, here again 4. Okay, so I want to find, so I connect a ohm meter across this, I will get a equivalent resistance across AP. That is by doing with meter, but here we have to do with analysis. So you can see 2 and 4 ohm in this, they are in parallel because there is a current that bifurcates. So 2 in combination with parallel 4 will give you an equivalent resistance like this, and then this is my Q T now. So that is actually 2 is in combination with 4. So I will get typically how much it will be. It will be okay. So let me not put the QT now because it will get confusion. So you put only 4. How do you put this? So there is a new ohm now. So it is an equivalent resistance of 2 and 4 in parallel, which means 4 into 2, R1 and R2 parallel will be R1 R2 by R1 plus R2. That becomes 8 by 6, that is 4 by 3. In series with the 4 and in parallel with this 2 ohm. And here there is a this is B. So across I open the A and B, it will be looking like, I'll show you, this is 2. So 4 by 3 and 4 in series, it will give 16 by 3. 16 by 3 in parallel with the 2, it will give you 16 by 3. Okay, so here 4 by 3 ohm parallel series, in series, I'll write the statement with 4 ohm. Okay, 4 ohm. So that will be effectively 16 by 3. 16 by 3 is in parallel with the 2 ohm. So effectively you will see that you will get 16 by 3. I can mark it like this, and then that is a ohm in parallel with these 2 ohm. And so I go step by step. Here there is a 4 ohm. So let us not forget A, B. So these are 2 ohm. So these two are in parallel in series with this 4 ohm. Effectively, RTH will be equal to 16 by 3 parallel with 2 ohm plus series 4 ohm. So that will be equivalent to, these are in parallel, which means 32 by 3 divided by 22 by 3 plus 4. That will be equal to again 32 by 22 plus 4, that will be 11, 16 by 11, that will be equivalent to 60 by 11 ohms. So this is my RTH. So we know already VTH we got 60 by 11 volts, and RTH we got 60 by 11. So I can represent the equivalent circuit like this. Oops, sorry. Equivalent circuit like that, this fashion. So it will be simply 60 by 11, and then the RTH, which is the 60 by 11, and here this is my current. Here the same current flows through. Here it will be 8 ohm. Okay, this is 8 ohm. So what will be the current that will be through the 8 ohm? So I will be equivalent to actually this is 60 by 11 volts. So this is like the RTH. Okay, so I will be equivalent to, you can check it, it is 60 by 11 divided by 60 by 11 plus 8. So you will get actually the current that flows through this resistor will be 60 by 11 plus, this is, if I are to sum it up, it becomes 88. So 148 by 11. Simplify further, you will get 60 by 148. Simply it will be, you can 15 by 47 ampere. So current through the resistor is 15 by 47 ampere. So this is the final answer. So the final answer is actually the current through the arm AB, the load resistor, is 15 by 47 ampere. Okay, so I want to tell you something here. You got to be careful. So if I were to compare, okay, so you can actually compare this Thevenin stuff with the Norton. So I want to complete that to make sense to you. So this is my stuff over here. This is my 60 by 11, and this is my RTH is 16 by 11 volt, and VT, this is my 60 by 11. RTH is 16 by 11 ohms, and VTH is 16 by 11 volts, and it is delivering to the load resistor like this. A2. Now, if I have to convert this into a current source, if I have to convert this into a current source, then I will have to write like, draw like this. The equivalent representation for the current source is this is my current source, and obviously we will have a shunt resistance. So the same value. So this is my, by Norton's theorem, current theorem, we get the same answers. So here it is like 1 ampere current. How did I get 1 ampere? Because 60 by 11 divided by 60 by 11, V equal to IR. So I will get 1 ampere with the shunt resistance 60 by 11 ohms, and so then this is my load resistor A2. So this is my current. So we have to understand this is my Rn, Norton resistance. This is my IN. Sorry, looks like. Oh, terrible. Okay, I will redraw that. Something is gone here, messy. So I will draw that. So this is my quickly. I will get that picture. So this is my 8 ohm. This is my RTH 16 by 11 ohm. This is my VTH 60 by 11 ohm. I want to convert this into a VTH. Oh, this is not ohm. This is voltage. So this is my VTH equal to 60 by 11 volt equal to, if I want to give the current source representation, I have to Norton current source. So that will give 1 ampere. 1 ampere because this is the same thing. V equal to IR. So you will get 1 ampere with a shunt resistance. That will be your Norton's resistance 60 by 11. So the magnitude wise RTH and Rn both are the same, but the way they are represented in the circuit, they are different. In case of current source, it is connected as shunt. In case of voltage source, it is connected in series. So here my 8 ohm with this. Okay, so okay, so you have to understand this. Okay, so current flowing through with this analysis 8 ohm we got like this, but here in the analysis here we got see, you look at this here, it is comparable. So this is a 1 ampere, so accordingly it will bifurcate. So you'll get the same thing. Okay, whatever the current will be flowing the same because the resistances are comparable. In this case, of course, this will act. If you look at here, it will be a you can't get a if you have a current source. If I have to operate, I have to operate it as a this thing. What do I say? Constant current. Here, getting a constant current with this kind of parameters is difficult. That's very simple. Think about it. All right. Thank you.